colleges in the country, and the one which is known throughout the country and particularly known to government as the most extensive and the best trainer of those in the construction industry, particularly modern methods of construction. So a welcome to you all and a thank you to the Cambridge Regional College. We are being recorded, as you can see, and the idea is that the recording will go on to the website, the Construction Industry Council website, and if CRC so wishes to have it on their website for the benefit of staff and students, they are of course welcome to do so. And I understand there may be a CD available afterwards if you wish this to be passed on to your children or grandchildren or those who are wondering where you are tonight, then you may be able to get that afterwards. What I would like to do to start off with is just for an absolute maximum of 3 minutes, I've suggested for each member of the panel, I think it's best they introduce themselves. I know who they are, they know who they are much better than I do. So to ask each member of the panel for a maximum of 3 minutes to introduce themselves, but more particularly to give an overview of how they see the way through and out of this recession, which we just heard graphically described in its genesis, and what particular points they have. They will, of course, have then the next 45 minutes then to give lots of points, but I thought they should all just have one chance just to make a few points before they start. So where should we start? Who's come from the furthest? So we start off with the good Professor Klein.
Have I come the furthest, have I? Oh,
You've
right.
come
okay. Shropshire.
Just about the first from Shropshire, yes.
Yeah, Shropshire. Well, my name is Rudy Klein. I'm the Chief Executive of the Specialist Engineering Contractors Group. And this organisation represents a sector in the industry of about 60,000 engineering firms, covering lifts, steel, M&E mainly. I suppose my opening gambit is this. When, or those of us who lived through the last recession, which was the beginning of the 90s, will recall that something good came out of it, which was the Latham report. And if you remember, or you might not, something that was said, or some advice that was given to Barack Obama before he became president of the United States by his chief of staff to be, it was, well, we should never waste a crisis. And Latham's report, if you recall, said we were wasting, well, 30% of our costs in this industry could be saved, which means we're wasting that amount. We haven't made a lot of impact on that since Latham. We've had since Latham, though, a massive amount of initiatives, reports. In fact, last year we had this report, which I brought with me. Construction Matters, which of course you've read from cover to cover. It is the report of the Select Committee. Well, it's called, it was originally the Trade Industry Committee, but it's now the Business Enterprise Committee in the House of Commons. And that report was based on a very extensive inquiry into the construction industry. It was the first ever inquiry into the construction industry by the House of Commons, or by House of Commons Select Committee. So we have enough literature available. We have enough of initiatives. We have something called the commitments, the construction commitments, which is an agenda agreed by the industry to improve our practices. And we still, as this report says, we still have massive amount to do. So I think my message is this. If we're going to have a sustainable industry, sustainable construction industry, you know what I mean by that? One that trains, one that innovates, one that invests in new technologies, one that employs the best people, then we have to ensure that we implement some of these reports, implement some of these recommendations, and more particularly, implement the requirements of those commitments. Around the industry, or around industry organisations, not around the industry, but around industry organisations, mine included, sometimes the will isn't there. This recession is an opportunity for us to start to grapple really with these issues and make sure the changes that we want to see, the changes that we want to see in order to make the industry more efficient, in order to improve profitability in the industry, are actually implemented, actually happen. And that's the opportunity I think we should now be using as presented by this current recession.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rudy, thank you very much indeed. Sandy, would you like to?
Yes, I'll take on from that. Thank you, David. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sandra Lilly, and I'm head of the Construction Skills Network, working for Construction Skills, which is the Sector Skills Council for Construction. My main messages for this evening in terms of a route out of recession would be to very much echo what Rudy's already said with regard to training. We need to, wherever possible, continue to train. I know these are very difficult times, particularly for small to medium enterprises in terms of commitment to training. Construction Skills can actually assist with that in terms of its grants, and we need to understand also that we need to continue to support apprentices. There have been over 2,100 apprentices displaced in the last 12 months, and Construction Skills has a matching service to assist those apprentices to actually retain their jobs with their current employer or to find new employers for them. And so far the success rate has been around 700, so there are still a considerable number of apprentices who need assistance. We can provide some assistance through the grant system, and in 2008 23,500 companies actually claimed grants from Construction Skills. So supporting training and continuing training and retaining is key, and also supporting apprentices. One of the things that we're also involved in, and something that I head up, I mentioned, is the Construction Skills Network. The network has over 1,000 members, and what the network actually does is forecast skills needs over the next 5 years, and we actually, as well as producing data and information, we go out and we talk to our stakeholders, because it's very important to understand what's actually happening in the regions and nations across the UK. It's fine to actually produce reports for the construction industry in isolation, but unless you actually take the views of your members and take the views of the construction industry at all levels into consideration, and you feed those views into your data and into your information, and you consult on a regular basis, and you need to represent those views in information that's actually being shared with the construction industry. And that's something that we actually achieve through the Construction Skills Network. Just to touch on what we're actually saying this year, we are predicting that the construction industry this year at UK level will experience an 8 to 10% contraction. In the east of England, where we are at the moment, that contraction will be slightly less at 5%, and we're predicting that the recovery will actually start earlier for the east of England because it actually went into recession earlier as well. There's lots of data and information that's actually available, but it's really about understanding your markets and being able to interpret when that crisis point will have passed and how we move forward from that.
Thank you very much indeed, and I think we've got some copies of the latest Experian report. Yes. Some, if people would like that before they go. We haven't got copies for everyone, but it's a very, very detailed and extremely incisive report that's just come out. So thank you very much indeed for that. Heard about apprentices. Ted, would you like to continue from there?
Yeah, hi, I'm Ted Pilbeam. I'm Sustainability Director for Volker Fitzpatrick, who, as I'm sure most of you know, are a multidisciplinary main contractor. I'm going to talk briefly about the route out of recession, unsurprisingly from a sustainability viewpoint. People who know me would say that I could probably talk for hours, but I'll leave that to the questions. Sustainability in recession and in difficult times becomes a very easy target. Becomes a target for cost cutting and an easy route of saying, well, that's where we can save some money. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I believe it shouldn't be. Firstly, sustainability is a growth industry. You only have to look in the media, and I defy anybody to find any sort of media that doesn't mention the environment or global warming or carbon emissions on an almost daily basis. Carbon emissions and CO2 are actually now part of everyday language. It wasn't 5 years ago.